Okay, thanks everyone for joining us today. This is an introduction session to advocacy with three representatives who are joining us from ReThink Mental Illness. And we're delighted to have them here today to talk a little bit about advocacy and the services that they provide. This session aims to be useful to students and graduates who might be keen to learn more about advocacy, what that profession can entail, who you might work with, and how you get into this pathway as well. My name's Adele Fairclough. I'm one of the careers advisors here at Durham. I'm going to hand over to the representatives here today, Libby, Julie and Emma, to introduce themselves and explain just to briefly explain their role, and then we'll be doing a Q&A session today. So I'll come to Libby first, if that's okay.
So my name's Libby. I'm a volunteer advocate and also a student at Durham University as well.
That's great. Thanks, Libby. And Julie?
Hi, my name's Julie Gawley. I do all types of advocacy and I've been in this specific role since December of last year.
Thanks, Julie. And last but not least, Emma.
Yes, I'm Emma Brooks and I'm one of the supervising advocates in the County Durham team.
That's brilliant. It's nice to meet you all and thank you for taking the time to share insights today. It's much appreciated. So first of all, just with an opening question, what is ReThink Advocacy? Who would like to start that off? To tell someone who's never heard of it, what you do as an organisation, what does it involve?
ReThink Advocacy is part of ReThink Mental Illness as a charity. So within County Durham, the commissioners have our service, ReThink Advocacy. It's statutory, so depending on legislation and different types of issues, there is a statutory requirement to have advocacy, so that's why we have it here and throughout the whole country as well. In County Durham, we have two contracts. So we have a contract which covers statutory, so there is Care Act advocacy, Mental Health Act advocacy, Mental Capacity Act advocacy, RPR dolls for people in care homes, and then community, all under one contract. And then on another contract, we have specialist mental health, which is advocacy again, but is for people who think they may have a mental health condition or are diagnosed with a mental health condition. And that's purely to communicate to mental health services with that one. So we've got a lot going on, a different split as well across contracts and what we do.
That's great. Thank you, Emma. And a question for you all, really. What does an advocate's day-to-day work look like, or what does your typical week, if such a thing exists, what does a typical week look like for an advocate?
The advocacy role can be and is very, very varied. We can do anything from visiting clients in care homes to making sure that they're receiving the right care and treatment, making sure that they're happy in the placement. We could be visiting detained patients on the wards, making sure that they know the rights, that they know that they can appeal against the section and support them through that process. We visit clients who lack capacity and we're trying to gather their views and opinions on where they might be living or if they need any serious medical treatment, opinions about that. What else we do? We could be meeting clients in the community, maybe to help them formulate a complaint letter to the GP surgery or the police or anybody like that. We also run drop-ins on the wards in the hospital. We're just in the process of setting those up weekly. So clients can just drop in and see us as and when. I think that's it. I think I haven't missed anything.
I think just to add as well about what our role is that an advocate is there to represent and find out someone's views and wishes and make sure that their rights are upheld, that they have the right care and treatment, they're aware of what the options are so that they can make their own decision. And it's all about really empowering people to have a voice. We're not support workers, we're not befrienders, counsellors, anything like that. We are there to work with individuals on specific issues, under legislation or without legislation, and just to make sure that, you know, they are listened to. Sometimes they won't get the outcome that they want, but at least we've helped them try. And we get a lot of good feedback as well from what we do.
That's great, thank you. So which other professionals and organisations do you work alongside or collaborate with?
We work alongside solicitors, social workers, inpatient and community mental health and health services, the prison service, the DOLS team, which is the deprivation of liberties team, safeguarding team, care home staff. The list is endless, really. Relatives we communicate with quite regularly. So yeah.
That's great, thank you. And could you talk through, for the benefit of students and graduates, what the pathway is to become an advocate in terms of what skills, experience and qualifications are needed?
So within ReThink Advocacy, we now have a trainee role, so this would be applicable to anyone who is not already a qualified advocate. So what we ask is you don't have to have advocacy experience or an advocacy qualification before you come into the role. So the trainee role is there for people who do not have those qualifications. There's no set qualification either to become an advocate. You know, there's no requirement for a degree or A-levels or anything like that. We get people from a range of backgrounds as well coming into the role. So the role as a trainee is there to support you through an advocacy qualification. So there's a lot of time spent shadowing people, learning the role, with that scope in your working week to be able to do a qualification alongside it that would make you then a qualified advocate. You know, there obviously are interviews to go through and applications. So really having just some knowledge of what advocacy is useful. But we also offer volunteering as well. So if you wanted to have a try of advocacy and get a little taste of it and see if you did like it, then we have those options available as well. We do advertise for volunteers too, which we can obviously make links with yourselves so that you know where those posts are. And we do quite often have volunteers who then move into a paid role. Or, you know, if you're just wanting some experience working with the range of professionals that we're working in, that might help you in future get into a paid profession in an area that you would like. It is a really good role to have and be involved in.
That's great, thank you. I might just add in a question there for Libby as it links nicely up. Obviously you're studying at Durham and doing your Masters in Cognitive Neuroscience. What drove you to undertake the volunteering advocacy role?
I was looking for volunteering roles in psychology-based volunteering, but a lot of them weren't available due to COVID. But then this one came up, so I applied for it. But I think the way that it works is really good as well, because you can do homework and as well as going out in the community. So that's why I think it is also gives quite a lot of skills in learning how to communicate with other people. Also, I think one of the main things I've learned most about for this role is like safeguarding and things like that, which is important for like working with vulnerable individuals, which I didn't really know much about before. So I've done training myself, and I've done training with the council as well on that.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Libby. That kind of leads me into my next question, actually. What do you enjoy about the role, and also what are the challenges?
I think we'll all have different elements to talk about this. Would you like me to go first?
Yeah, feel free.
Okay, so within my supervising role, I manage, there's two supervisors in County Durham, and I manage part of the team and the other one manages the other half. But collectively we are, you know, fully involved in the team. So I think in my management role, I enjoy supporting and helping the advocates. But equally as well, I still carry a small caseload. So I get to go out and about still, you know, visiting clients, being involved in different processes, working with different individuals as well. And in advocacy, although we're part of ReThink Mental Illness, it's not just people who have a mental illness that we are working with. It could be learning disabilities, older people, physical disabilities as well. There's lots, you know, we cover a variety. So I really enjoy working with individuals with learning disabilities and supporting them through a lot of Care Act processes, making sure that the care and support needs are met, that kind of thing. So I enjoy that. And I suppose all the skills and information that you learn along the way. Within our role, we learn a lot around like social care elements. So that links in quite nicely. And just being able to visit different settings as well. So the mental health wards are very different to a care home. And it's just interesting every single day.
That's great, thank you. Julie, do you want to jump in?
I can do, yeah. I suppose my specific interest is in the mental health side of things. So that's my sort of favourite part of advocacy. And I just find it a privilege, really. A lot of the people that we work with have had bad experiences of services. So it takes quite a bit of time for them to sort of trust you to then begin to work collaboratively with you to help them through their issues that they have. And I think it's a privilege, and it's really rewarding. In terms of barriers, I guess working from home can sometimes be an issue. It can sometimes be maybe a little bit isolating. But on the other hand, the team is really supportive, and there's always somebody there at the end of the phone or on a Teams call that can support you through any issues that you're having.
That's great, thank you. And what about yourself, Libby? What do you enjoy, and what do you find are the challenges?
I think I haven't really been doing it for that long, so I have only just started doing my own cases, which I found I've just started doing it yesterday, to be fair. And I think by the end of it, I think what I'll enjoy is actually helping someone, because I feel like when you come from a psychology background, a lot of the time you want to help someone. So then if you help someone throughout a process and then you make it realistically trying to help them through their issues and helping them make their life better, then that's what will be rewarding at the end. I actually do like the being at home side of it. I think sometimes, so when I've been shadowing others, it might just be that sometimes some people who aren't in the organisation don't get back in contact, and it might take a long time for you to like get the outcome that you wanted. But apart from that, yeah, it's really good so far.
That's great. Good luck with working on your own caseload as well. Thank you. So finally, for students or graduates who are perhaps considering exploring voluntary or a career pathway as an advocate, what would your advice be for students and graduates as well?
I would say have a look at what is out there. I suppose in our role, it would be a trainee role that you would come into, but again, there's volunteering as well. And if you do have some spare time available, then it is a really rewarding and good volunteering aspect that you can do, that you get a lot of insight into. And it can help as well if you're unsure of what you would like to do in the future, being able to work in a lot of different settings and shadow people and work with different professionals. Gives you that insight that you might just need to know exactly what you would like to do. I can't remember the question.
General advice for students.
Yeah, I would definitely look at that, and we're more than happy to be contacted as well. So if you had any questions at all, or you were interested in volunteering or what paid roles would look like, then I'm happy to pass on my contact details for you to contact as well and ask questions.
That's brilliant, thank you. Julie, what would your advice be for students or graduates maybe considering this as a career pathway?
I would say maybe consider getting a part-time or a voluntary job in perhaps a care setting or a hospital, just so it gives you an awareness of how like the systems run and the terminology and that kind of thing. That would be advice.
Thank you. Thanks, Julie. And Libby?
I think what Julie said is true, because before I applied for the voluntary role, I didn't really have much knowledge around surrounding like terminology and safeguarding and stuff like that. So I think if you were to apply for like the paid roles, to work part-time or work voluntary in them areas would be good. But I also think that for psychology roles, it's so competitive. I think even that, like, if you were to apply to be an advocate and be an advocate for quite a few years and then go on to something else in psychology, it gives you that experience and them skills that are like transferable to other areas in there.
That's great, thank you. And out of interest, Emma, I might direct this one to you. Across the team, what kind of backgrounds have the team come from? As you know, if people kind of started in advocacy early in their career and then obviously remained within, or people transferred from other careers? And do you see a range of, say, degree disciplines, things like that as well?
Yeah, I think personally, I studied at Durham for my undergrad and then went to Northumbria for my postgrad. And I came in as a volunteer into this role, and then moved straight into paid role and then supervisor. So my initial application was just to get experience in the role and in the field of working with mental health professionals and social workers and everyone like that. And obviously I've stayed because I've enjoyed it. But we do have a range. We've got people who were mental health nurses, people who worked in the social care sector, who've been social workers, worked in care homes as senior carers, other people who've just come from completely different backgrounds but want to give something back and to help people. You know, I think that's one of the core values that we all share, is that we want to help people. Some of us might have had lived experience as well, which then filters into why we want to help in this area, because, you know, we do really make a difference to help people, you know, understand what is going on and just really feel listened to.
That's great, thank you. And just to throw in a further question, if you don't mind. Obviously, you talked about having that value and sort of that desire to help people. What would you say are the main strengths people need to have to be a good advocate?
I would say the willingness to help people, but also being professionally boundaried. The advocacy role comes with a lot of limitations, so we can't give people advice. We can't, you know, promise that everything will be okay. So, you know, having this boundary in, you know, terms of this is advocacy and I am there to represent someone, not to put on what I think is best. That is definitely one of the key elements that we all have to do in our role. But also just a willingness to learn. There is so much to learn in this area, because we work under so many different legislations that, you know, it's just, you know, you pick it up as you go on, but there's just so much to learn and enjoy as well.
That's great, thank you. Julie, do you have anything to add in terms of the main sort of skills you feel like you draw upon day to day?
I think you have to be resilient. It is an emotive job, it is a challenging job. We're constantly sort of challenging other professionals, and it's, yeah, definitely resilience. Yeah.
That's great, thank you. And Libby, what about yourself? What's the main thing you feel you need?
I think skills that I've learned so far is probably just communication skills with other people, because I feel like sometimes you think, oh, I'll go to uni and I'll get a degree and then that'll be it, I'll get a job in whatever I want, but that quite a lot of the time isn't really what happens. So I think like the skills of like communicating with other people, maybe I've built my own personal skills in like trying to approach people first, because it's something that I would never do before. Like I would never like want to ring anyone on the phone, or like never want to email anyone first and be like, oh, can I set up this? Like, is this okay? So I think I've learned skills there that are going to help me in my future.
That's great, thank you. It sounds like it's really helped develop sort of confidence and that almost that assertiveness as well that you probably need as an advocate too. This has been a really, really interesting insight. I just want to take the time to thank you on behalf of Durham students and graduates for sharing sort of information and advice for those who maybe haven't considered advocacy, or those who'd like to learn more, or those who have already thought about this as a potential option for them to explore in their career. So a huge thank you to you all for taking the time today. It's been really valuable.